Is it better to learn magic through hard work and dedicated study at a prestigious magic academy for gifted witches and wizards, or by digging for trash inside a garbage slug? Take a seat and listen for our insights in the Owl Pod. As always, I am joined by Anne and Robert. Welcome back, guys. Right away, I have to ask, are you trash delvers or book readers?
I'm a trash delver.
I'm a healthy mix of both, I would say.
I was learning electricity the way I shouldn't have been.
What does that mean?
Means I was playing with high voltage when I shouldn't have.
He was sticking forks in the wall.
Nah, I mean more dangerous actually. I was doing that, but with the added bonus of yeah, no, it's kind of really just that, wasn't it? Yeah, it was functionally the same.
Oh dear.
Yeah, no, I did electrical work on a project for my cousin a while back. A while back, like I'm not still actively doing it, and it's how I learned how electricity worked. But yeah, trash delver through and through.
Okay.
Forget the books.
Yeah, learn by
internet.
doing. Okay.
The internet is my book.
And that is the same philosophy Ada has in this episode, where we open with her, Luce, and King on the beach digging through the stomach of a garbage slug, looking for stuff to sell, apparently. I guess they just have treasures in there. Or eggs.
Or seeds.
Or seeds. They'll come back.
Spoil it? What the hell?
I mean, you don't know. I mean, what is an egg if not a seed?
I mean,
I
true.
think that's literally accurate, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, but for now, it's just a greasy slime ball. Nothing.
It's a greasy slime ball.
Yeah.
Nothing more. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is where like the setup of the episode happens. We have a bit of a discrepancy in philosophy where Luce kind of wants to learn things naturally, but Ada is not about that. And she lets slip, kind of accidentally, that there's a magical school out there, and Luce wants to go immediately.
I would argue that Luce is the one who doesn't want to learn things naturally. But that's fine. Sure.
Yeah, I suppose. Learning things book smart versus street smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because Ada is just happy to be digging around in garbage. She is living her best life. She really is happy to be here. I like this character dynamic that they have, and her characterization. It's good. She is a strong character, a strong personality, just happy to be doing this.
Yeah. She's just eccentric. I'm trying to think of the correct words. She's one of those people that in real life you see that they're wearing all mismatched clothes, and you go into their house and they have like 500 wind chimes, and they only eat organic because they think there's like metals in the water more than normal type of thing.
I was going to say there are in fact metals in the water.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like all natural. We have to return to nature, or like I don't genuinely people who don't care what other people think.
Yeah,
she's a true free spirit.
In the context of the show, you're absolutely correct. But in the context of reality, most of those people, in fact, grew up at a time where paint companies were lying about the levels of lead in, and now they all grew up with lead poisoning. So I don't blame them for their massive amounts of mistrust.
I would say no. I've seen some pretty young, strange people.
True. Okay, there are young. Yeah, it's right. You're right. Theory invalid if they're young. It's true.
Well, maybe they do live in a house with lead paint. We don't know.
That's true.
Yes, those buildings still exist. All the asbestos in the walls, it's still around.
Yeah.
Slowly getting rid of it, but...
There's a town in England that actively on their sign to like the town entrance I think it's England. I think so, but it's just like they're like the number one asbestos exporters, and they still have to sign up for even though it's very much not a good thing now.
Oh, you just never bothered to take it down.
Well, there's a whole actually history behind it, which is interesting. If I remember correctly, Tom Scott did a really good video on it. But I don't know if you ever watched Tom Scott, but he's great.
I think I watched a video where like he coded it to constantly update the view counter, which was interesting.
Yeah, that was one of his bigger videos. The one I'm talking about, it's like he's like, there's this little town of asbestos, and he like has his red shirt on, and he's in the wind, per usual. That's the joke for the Tom Scott fans out there.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, yeah, sorry. Anyway, yeah, what we're talking about?
We're talking
Spirit of Nature.
about Owl House, I think. Yeah, after
Sorry.
after the little introduction, you go back to the intro. Great intro still. Love to watch it every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Luce ducks out of the garbage collecting, not her thing. And then she runs into a young witch named Willow, who is freaking out about not being good enough and having bad grades and stuff. And then a typical mean girl comes along in the form of Amity, who just really bullies the crap out of her. It's devastating.
It is a very weird combination for the supposed top student to also be the mean girl.
Yeah.
Which is, I noticed that immediately and was like, oh, that's an interesting combo.
I feel like I've seen this quite often. I can't point out any examples, but I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, it's always popular girl being mean girl, but like, I don't know.
Well, she isn't unpopular as far as we know.
Yeah, we don't know much about her yet, like her social relationships. She wasn't with anyone through this entire episode.
That's actually fair. It was just pure vibe detection, which could be wrong.
She definitely is a teacher's pet. But
yeah.
I just have to say, it is totally not relevant to the plot, but she needs to re-dye her hair. Her roots are showing.
Oh man, yeah, you're right.
Sorry.
Gotta fix that.
That's what I notice as a woman.
I just, yeah.
It's an interesting that in a fantasy world, if she actually did in fact dye her hair, that is an interesting detail. You could have just given her the was it aqua? What is it like? What's the color?
Yeah, like mint
aqua-ish, mint aqua, kind of like but no, it's dyed hair. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it now. I was really expecting her just to be popular mean girl because she had popular mean girl attitude, is also top student, but she could just be the top student and an asshole. That's true.
Yeah, we don't know much about her. At least not from this episode. I think there's probably more stuff that gets. I think all the characters come back at some point. Like I think there's a couple of Hex side focused episodes, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean these are the characters that we were seeing in the intro, so
yeah. So they gotta come back.
They gotta come back. I mean, don't mean to metagame a little bit, but they gotta come back.
Yeah, so after we get a brief interaction between Willow and Amity, we cut over back to the beach with Ada collecting all the little mini eggs. And this is where our B-plot is introduced for this episode, where Ada and King have a bet about who is actually a better teacher. And I love how Ada takes out the book of the bets, where King loses every single time. It's just like...
Yeah, and also, this is technically the first B-plot, isn't it?
I think so.
First episode didn't have B-plots. They were just literally...
Like, I guess
single plot
episode 2, it didn't really have... It had, like, an A- plot, I guess?
Yeah, you were just following two people.
Yeah, like, through the same events, essentially. But, yeah, this is the first... Like, this is definitely a B, like, unrelated plot until it comes back together.
Oh, yeah, but that's always how it's gotta work, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the nature of B plots. Is they always have to tie into the A plot right at the end if you want it to be.
You have to wrap it all up in a nice little bow.
Which I guess sort of shines light on the last episode because, like, I think it's interesting that they knew they were going to do an A plot B plot structure, and they chose to because by all intents and purposes, the last episode, I don't mean to talk about it, is just a B plot. You're right. But it's so tied in, it doesn't feel like one. But it does all the same B-plot things where it's completely separate the entire time until the very end of the episode. But
like, because because it's so connected, like, at least thematically throughout the whole thing, where, like, it feels important to the A-plot in a way that most B-plots don't, where, like, we are getting more information about the A-plot as the B-plot goes on in the last episode, so... Whereas here, it's just completely separate.
Yeah, like, episode 1 was just A-plot. This was an A and A- plot. Now it's an A and B plot. it makes me happy, and not happy. I think it makes me, what's the right word? It makes me hopeful for the plot structure of future episodes.
They might do interesting things that are.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. We got lots of episodes ahead of us, so who knows what they'll do.
Yeah. The book of bets was entertaining to look at.
And King is just like, yep, I like the odds of me always losing. I can win eventually. He's so certain. But specifically, the bet is that he has to raise a baby trash slug to be a loyal servant. So after that little introduction to the B-plot, we go back, where Luce and Willow become immediate friends after just talking about magic. And again, we get, like, humans are a known entity. Like, Willow pegs her, oh, you're a human, but you're rare. Like, they know about them, but they're not common at all.
I am telling ya, there's some other important human, because of what I mentioned last time, that there's a award only a human can go through, which is weird and pointless if there is no human to go through and put things in there.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm saying.
And why that human would be collecting a Burger King crown, that was beyond me.
They miss home.
They miss home. They could just be collecting. But why can't they get back? Does she? I mean, I'm not like questioning. I think you're right. There's something very weird there. It's just like, it's just very thick plot. It's just, there's a lot. It's just mounting questions.
Maybe they don't want to go home and have to go to Burger King to get a crown.
They just want the crown.
They just want the crown and not have to go to Burger King, because who wants to do that?
That is such. Yeah, you're making a lot of sense. I've never been to a Burger King, and I don't think I ever want to go to a Burger King.
There's not a Burger King close to me. I've been a couple of times as an adult. Like, I can, like, less than 5 probably. And, like, it's fine. It's different.
I'd rather go to McDonald's.
Maybe. I've sworn off McDonald's, so
Gotta go to
they're evil. Yeah, Wendy's.
Oh, Wendy.
Wendy's S tier. McDonald's for me has to be F tier because of what they did to me. But that's not a story for today.
This is deep lore.
Deep lore.
But yeah.
Podcast.
Does Burger King still have the crowns? Do they still do that?
I don't know.
Oh well, it's not important.
I was gonna say no. I was just thinking.
Yes,
I was like, I can't
they
say
do.
that.
Okay.
Good. I was gonna say my answer was not as wholesome, so I can't. I should have just gone for a yes or no. Should have just Googled it.
It's okay. We got a fact checker, which is good. So Willow talks a little bit about the school they go to, Hexside, and she talks about how she's on the abomination track because her parents think it has more opportunities and it's like has a better future that way, even though she's terrible at it, and she's clearly very good at plant magic.
Classic computer science degree. Clearly. I'm sorry, this is a perfect analogy. It was setting it up. Do you know how many people drop out because they're better at other things? They get pushed into that.
I don't,
or
actually.
doctor. That's so, like, do you know the dropout rate is insane? But also it could be like doctors or a million other things, but you know.
I didn't know the dropout rate for computer science was high. I thought it was
low. Yeah.
It's hard.
It's difficult, especially when you start getting up there, Marcus. I mean, like, there are weed out classes. Like, the first classes are like, oh, it's JavaScript. And then they're like, it's C++. And that's where a lot of people in data structures, this tends to be where people tend to die a little bit. That or discrete math. But some people love discrete math. Like, just true or false puzzles. Great.
Interesting. I was thinking about trying to get, like, a computer science certificate so I could be more useful as a human.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Go for it.
Go for it. Genuinely, go for it. If it's a certificate, yeah, you'll be great. I just mean, like, if you're going for, like, a bachelor's or a master's, that's where you start to run into people having problems. That's all.
Ooh, okay. Well, something to keep in mind for my future.
Just made him stressed.
I mean, once again, you don't know until you try, Marcus. That's the thing.
I think
is an important lesson. Sorry, yeah.
I think that you should join the abomination track.
Yeah, it's way more useful than my terrible garbage plant track I got a bachelor's in.
I would not. I don't think that that track gets to deserve to be called the plant track. The plant track is like
I'm currently in the plant track.
Yeah, I think that qualifies more. Yes.
Yeah.
Anne is in the plant track for sure.
I don't know what mine is. Something terrible. Something. It's like I didn't even get a degree. Anyway, it's unimportant.
I'm in the Abomination, but only if I was Owl Lady Abomination track. That's where I'm at the moment.
I have to learn by doing track.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Luce wants to see the inside of the school, and so she's like, "Hey, I have this great idea. I'm gonna pretend to be your abomination, and you're gonna get a good grade on it because I'm a very impressive abomination, and they get to see the inside of the school." And they're both like, "Yeah, that can't possibly go wrong."
Literally no problems there.
And to their credit, it works like pretty effectively.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, unfortunately, later on, Amity kind of tries to put a stop to it, but we'll get there when we get there. Because before that, when we go to Exide, we meet Augustus, the president of the Human Appreciation Club, which is very interesting. Again, humans, they're known, but unknown in a way.
Telling you, really important human around.
Who could it be?
Maybe it's like a pop star / prison warden.
I'm wondering, like, what a human would even be doing here. Like,
The same thing Luce is doing?
yeah, I mean, I guess, but also the attitude towards humans. Like, I'm wondering how they would have like gotten into a position of power where they like have the warden commanding the warden. I'm once again, I'm not poking holes at a theory. I think you're right. I think there is probably some human-esque entity out there. I don't know. I'm just like piecing it together because it doesn't. The episode overall didn't seem like it was like very pro-human, to put it away.
Yeah, like humans aren't allowed inside the school, just to begin with. So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Evil human.
could be evil
Mm-hmm.
humans. But the presentation goes very well for Willow. Luce does make a good teenage abomination.
Yeah.
I was half correct about what the episode was about.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah. Magic school, introduction to characters. She didn't literally get turned into an abomination,
But
sadly.
she pretended to be one.
But she pretended to be one, which it would have been so much better if she was literally just like turned into an abomination. It'd be like
yeah, just some weird body horror, maybe like The Fly or something.
No. It's just yeah, I mean, I guess the plot wouldn't have made sense because they were trying to introduce characters, and if it was just Luce trying to like not be an abomination anymore, that might kind of get sidetracked a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Be too plot heavy for like a character introduction episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think somewhere around here we go back to King and Ada. King is teaching the slug by just feeding it food.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, really. The slug is just eating and is not actually taking in any information or following any orders. But King thinks it's working.
So to get big.
Yeah, good for him. I think after that, we go back to the lunchroom where... Yeah, this is where Amity finally catches them, because Luce eats some food, and Amity's like, oh, that's not what abominations do. Something is up, something is wrong. And the abomination teacher sent her to the principal's office. Close call there. They almost got found out. But I guess...
I mean...
They just said, well, my abomination is pretending to eat food. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I
tried to do that.
Mm-hmm. Something that probably would have worked, but apparently the conversation Amity has with the principal was... Somehow Amity knew that the principal was going to be curious about this, and somehow convinced him to try to give I don't know what it is, if the creature is still alive, but like an autopsy on Luce. It's not called enough. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'll think about it in like 10 minutes to tell you.
Awesome.
Vivisection.
It is vivisection.
Yeah.
But Luce is a living thing, so they have to try to run away. It's just, yeah. And I think we get some back and forth cutting where King is running away from the slug monster he's created.
I mean, he's progressively like feeding it. He's not aware at this point, right? He's just kind of like feeding it, and
yeah, he doesn't seem to understand at all what he's doing. But around this time, maybe a bit before, Ada realizes that Luce is missing, and it's like, where did she go? We get another return of Hootie, who tells her she went to the school. And I love the scene with Ada just like looking into the school and just seeing like society, just like I don't know how to describe it.
We live in a society.
We live in a society.
She completely breaks down and like just the rigidness of the system. She's like, I hate it.
I mean, so understandable. If I homeschooled my child and I went and I saw them in public school, I would also be horrified.
But yeah, like Ada clearly has an authority problem. Like in episode 1, she didn't care about the prison. Here is like, the school's bad. It'll rot your brain. Yeah, she's such a free spirit.
I have a feeling that she probably went to school at some point.
Well, she didn't she? Wait, am I crazy? In the beginning, didn't she?
I don't think she ever said that she did. She just said that she doesn't like it.
1 second, I'm going to the...
I just watched the episode.
I know. I'm wondering. No, she says, right in the beginning, she says, I didn't finish school, implying that she started it right in the beginning.
Oh, okay. Oh. I see.
Yeah. So she was going to school at some point.
And then she got expelled, or she left. And that's why she has a problem with it.
Yeah, I can't imagine that she would hate school so much without first going to it. Seems...
Why not? Zeta.
Yeah. You're just born that way. Maybe it's Maybelline. Yeah.
It does seem like she was born kind of that way, at least a little bit. Like, it's really rooted in her how much she doesn't like the school and like the rigid system that this society has.
I've never seen someone born with that much hatred. That hatred is learned.
Like,
I just want to say before we go past it though, when Hootie tells Ada where Luce went, he uses the weatherman, which I feel implies that he is in fact the whole house.
Did you not?
I thought he was just the door. I thought he was just the door.
Oh.
I thought he was just like the door. He was like a fixture of the owl house, because he extends throughout, he's like a little worm owl, And also the owl, like, does that mean that like the owl blinking in the first episode in the window was actually his third eye?
Ooh,
clearly.
Could be.
I mean,
no.
I've just thought that Hootie was the whole house the whole time, so.
Yeah, I don't know. He seemed like he was like, I don't know. It's strange that he is the whole house, if he is, and that his head just extends out from the door to bother people.
That's his face.
Yeah. His face extends out like an extruding mesh. Like, it's weird. Weird little creature.
He's a good little creature.
Yeah, he's a good little creature.
Speaking of creatures, I just wanted to talk about how the bell in the school, like, made me scream. At first, there was an internal fear that I've never had before.
It's really funny. The bell just screams. Like, it gets hit with the bell thingy, and instead of making like the ding noise, it just screams like a human. It's
and
awful.
It just happened so quick. It was like a 1 second clip.
Like, there's no build up in volume. It's just at max volume immediately.
Vine boom.
And we also get to look at some other students and teachers in the school when Ada's peeking in. We get lots of really cool designs of different like side characters, like the kindergartners and the teacher. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to see how creative they are when making new characters.
I definitely have two things to say about it. I really like the design where their whole face is like the mouth. I think the warden in the first episode was that kind of creature.
Yes.
And we saw like a baby one, and I really like them. And then in the kindergarten classroom where the teacher was a spider, the board said, "Eat spiders."
Yeah, I saw that.
Just curious what that means.
Do you think there's like a goofy Pluto situation where some animals are sentient and some aren't?
I mean, we have seen non-sentient spiders being vomited out of creatures, which also implies that it's vomit. So
But-
it's both.
Oh yeah, there was
The
like the
griffin.
real griffin in
Yeah.
the.
Mhm.
Okay, maybe there is. It's a Pluto situation.
Spiders are both vomit, something you should eat, and sentient creatures.
Mm-hmm.
We have
I mean, if we go off of real spider society, maybe all the non-sentient spiders are the boy spiders.
Okay.
They're made for eating.
They don't want to be eaten though. They run. they do run, but sometimes they just don't get away.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It also depends on the spider. It's just
Oh,
that,
yeah.
you know,
Female spiders, not all the time, but a lot of the time they eat the males.
yeah, the male spiders, a lot of the time there are a lot of species that will actively like subdue the female spider. And then they like
they can run away.
They can run away. Yeah, and they sprint out of there. They're like
That's bizarre. I had no idea.
Yeah. That's a big tarantula thing. That's a
Like praying mantises, I thought like they offer themselves up for consumption.
Spiders
Mm-hmm.
sometimes do it, but like he said, sometimes they like will put stuff in the web so they can get away, which is really funny.
Sometimes they like push on the nerves on the other spider's back, and then they sprint.
like the Vulcan sleep touch.
Also, just going back to your bell comment, they also just have a normal bell, which is funny because like with like they're getting called back to class initially with like Luce and what's her name?
Willow.
Luce and Willow first meet. There is just like a normal bell noise calling them back. It's like a bong bong, like
That's
so they have two types of bells. There's the screaming, and then there's also just the normal bell.
I guess
Fair.
it's
Understandable.
So the spiders, the bells. I'm starting to understand the artwork you showed and talked about in the first episode we were talking about, where they were like completely nonsensical, like these like very contradictory like photos. You're like the art style is definitely like showing itself spiritually through the spiders and the bells and everything else.
Oh, along the same lines of the bells, the lockers are like also just monsters. They have to like tickle them to open them.
That's a Harry Potter thing.
Yeah,
it's a very Harry Potter thing.
I mean,
they have to pet the book to open it.
They pet the book.
I mean, the entire school is just it's Harry Potter coded. Like, I think you can't have a magic school and not have it Harry Potter coded anymore. It's too ingrained in our culture.
I wonder if there was a magic school before Harry Potter that was. Is there examples?
I have no idea. Like,
aside from it being like classical academia of like ancient wizard like kind of attitude.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's like ancient magic. So I can think of like there's like the Arthurian legend, like the Knights of the Round Table and Merlin the Wizard. But that's not like a school. It's like a one-on-one teach. It's like an Ada Luce relationship, right? Like, I don't know.
I'm thinking Skyrim is the thing that immediately comes to mind, or Elder Scrolls.
Oh yeah,
which is a video game though, and I.
But the oldest Elder Scrolls games probably came out. Oh, actually, I don't know if that's true. When did Harry Potter come out?
The earliest. Yeah, when did Harry Potter come out?
Like 1999.
Yeah, I was gonna say if anyone's gonna know,
okay,
it's gonna be Anne.
So yeah, early Elder Scrolls is probably older than that because the early Elder Scrolls is ancient and ugly.
Well, I think Morrowind would probably be the best one to draw example-wise from, and that was 2002. So, but
sorry, I was wrong. It's 1997.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like Magic's. Yeah, well, I mean, point is that it was before 2000. You know.
Yeah.
It was like it's, and then like I think before that there was like the other Elder Scrolls games that people don't talk about because they were like functionally very different because the computing at the time was just different. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like,
I tried to play some of those older Elder Scrolls games, and they aren't they aren't it, man.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like even in Skyrim, the sort of magic school is like I feel like you always run into two situations. It's like magic school where it's Harry Potter, or it's magic school where magic is for only an elite class of people in a society who have the money to practice it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And learn it. Like, it's like becoming a doctor, essentially, where it's like, yeah, you could learn magic, but you're going to go into a serious amount of debt unless you have a mass amount of money.
Yeah, it's like the fantasy worlds, either everyone is capable of magic, but not everyone practices it, or only some people are magically inclined, and they just like go to school for it because other people can't do it. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I guess if we're talking about magic in a school context. If it's just magic in a magic context, it's just like also the magic where it's like warlocks and stuff where they just don't need school, but like, and like druids. But in like what kind of schools you see is like, do we have to concede that Harry Potter innovated? Oh no.
It probably did. Like, it was hugely influential.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm having a little bit of an ego death over here
Yeah.
because I realize that I was at the midnight release for the Goblet of Fire, which was released in 2000, which means
Wait.
I was reading the first 3 books in the 90s. Like, I was sentient. Like,
Wow.
I'm feeling really old right now.
Because Harry Potter is older than I am.
Yeah, I was dressed up as Hermione for the midnight release of Goblet of Fire.
I thought you meant I showing how young I am. When you said it was in the 2000s, I was like, the movie came out way after that.
I'm talking about the book.
I wasn't even thinking about the book. The movie came out in 2005.
I don't even know if you were born.
No, I was born in 2000. I was not sentient. I was beyond sentient. Beyond not sentient.
Goblet of Fire book release date. No, you weren't born.
Yeah.
It was released in July.
Yeah, of 2000?
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah, wow. I came out.
I was celebrating. I was celebrating and you weren't alive.
I was going to say, I did not, in fact, show up. I was about to say I wasn't released before, is what I was going to say. I was released after the worst Harry Potter book turned into a movie. I don't know about the book's quality. I haven't read the book. I know the movie was dookie, though. I didn't like it.
Which one?
No.
I didn't like the Harry Potter fourth. We're not talking. What's going to Owl House? Oh my god!
Sorry, I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
The Order of the Phoenix is the worst book. I
You
will die on this hill.
Oh, I wasn't talking about books. I was just talking about movies. I don't like.
I will also die on that hill.
My least
Goblet
favorite.
of Fire, good.
My least favorite was definitely Half-Blood Prince for the movies. I didn't like that one very much.
Yeah, I would say that and Order of the Phoenix is definitely. Anyways.
I know they started to sort of into the movies after Prisoner of Azkaban. It was, I think, just a general consensus that people can come to. Like, after that point, I don't know. The movies tend to... anyway.
Yeah.
Owl House.
Yeah, back to a different magical universe.
Yeah.
I don't remember where we were, so let's just go to when...
Talking about the lockers.
Talking about the lockers,
yes.
But you might want to cut part of that down, Marcus.
No, I think that's all important.
You want to leave it in?
Again, I think the Venn diagram of people who were into Harry Potter, before recent events, and people who like the Owl House is probably also a circle. So...
it's a closed loop.
Yeah.
But yeah, the lockers.
Yeah, the lockers are cool. Amity brings Principal Bump into Luce for the vivisection. And then they run away because we don't want Luce to get cut in half. And this is where Willow lets out her magical super good plant powers and allows them to escape, which is great, even though Amity keeps trying to stop them. And it's like, she really wants her top student star. She wants her badge of honor, and she just can't get it. It's not for her anymore.
I have a question about Principal Bump now that we are here.
Okay.
Principal Bump is the only person who we haven't technically seen his ears, assuming that he is in fact not just the demon on top of his head. So perhaps he is the human that we have speculated so much about?
Perhaps. I mean, he is kind of like wearing a little demon hat, or the demon is just eating him.
Exactly. Is he the demon, in fact, is the demon the real principal possessing a human body? It was a thought that came to mind.
Amazing.
Could be, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry to like constantly bring up other movies, but this plant thing very much reminded me of Sky High.
Oh my god, yeah, no. Yeah, you're 100% right.
I
Oh
don't
my god.
remember a plant thing happening in Sky High.
But
The
that's like
finale of Sky High.
that is like the big thing is like the girl who will not use her powers is a plant girl, and then she goes sicko mode and sends the vines everywhere.
I
Also a
forgot that
Disney
completely.
property. I'm gonna 1 second.
I mean, I liked that movie as a kid. I probably watched it a couple of times. I totally forgot that part happened.
You may or may not recognize. I'm gonna send you just a GIF into the Owl Pod chat that I just pulled up. There you go. That's
Okay, it's also a
Web
weird.
Web P.
Oh no, it
Thank
didn't
you
work.
for sending a WebP. I can open it.
Yeah, you could open it. That's fine.
This is.
I set it for your video file format. I was gonna say I just saw this GIF, and honestly, my first thought, just to tie it to another thing, was this. She was doing the Jesus pose, so I immediately thought it was Zack Snyder.
Oh my god, could you imagine
Yeah.
Zack Snyder's Sky High?
This is clearly Zack Snyder did Guardians of Gahul. I hope you know that.
Shoot, yeah,
You think the Bible owls? Yeah,
I've heard it's actually like a really good movie. I should probably watch it.
Yeah. The owl is voiced by Frodo, you know?
Oh.
It's just funny to me that I literally thought of it was funny that years after watching all of like Batman and like all that Justice League stuff that he did and all the Batman movies and all the Bible imagery I saw in it, I went back and just thought of Guardians of Gahul, and without knowing that it was actually directed by him, just went, "Oh, that was directed by Zack Snyder, wasn't it?" Because he made Bible owls. Everything he does, 300, it's all biblical. It's everything he does is biblical.
He loves imagery. Also, isn't Guardians of Gahul? It's based off a book, isn't it? That's not.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's based off a book series. And so I just saw the Sky High thing, and it's the girl, and she's doing like the bright light behind her, and her arms are outstretched, and she's summoning a bunch of plants. It just.
Man, I completely forgot.
I see Zack Snyder everywhere. He's in every shadow, in every corner. I can't escape him. His cold stare. I just don't. Can never run away from that man.
There he is. You posted a picture of him in our chat.
I'm sorry. What do I see?
Speaking of Yowls, Guardians of Gahul, this is a podcast about the Owl House, apparently.
Oh yeah, we connected it back to owls. You're right, 100%. There it is.
Yeah. So I talked about the two planes of action where Ada and King are fighting off the big scary slug. They dump a bunch of salt in it, and instead of killing it, it just reverts to being small. Interesting.
It would be so sad if it like horribly died right there.
Just shriveled as nothingness.
I wouldn't have put it past them. They ate the last villain in the last episode.
True.
They did.
Literally calamaried him.
Also, I don't think I said it earlier, but the punishment for Ada losing the bet, because she does apparently lose the bet since Luce decides to go to proper school. She has to wear a shame hat that King makes and live in the shack of the Owl House. And she does it. She just goes in there. It's like, yeah, this is it.
She has integrity.
I do like that the result of the B plot is the fact that they are both in fact wrong, which is funny to me because it's like Ada was wrong and King was also just bad at what he was doing and therefore wrong.
King doesn't seem particularly smart.
No, he does not. But classic King fashion.
I love him for it. He's a great character.
Oh yeah. I mean, we didn't talk a lot about the actual fine aspect because we got a little off track and started talking about Sky High, but I did like the animation on the vines. I was happy about that. I was like, yes, okay.
More of that fluid-like, liquidy goop animation.
It's kind of funny because it feels like the first 3 episodes have just been excuses to animate liquid goop animation a lot. It's like first episode it was the warden, second episode it was the giant like calamari man, and then this one it was plant animation. And admittedly it was nice to see the it wasn't like the level of fluidity as the first episode or anything like that, but they did it still very well, and I was very happy about it. I was like, oh, okay. It's like, given they're animating it just like how you would animate with a normal budget, but they did it like, oh, it was good. It was very.
Yeah, it was interesting to look at, like good action. Like
Yes,
it was good blocking and stuff, good editing.
Yeah, I've been noticing that a lot with the show, is that it feels like they do the frames right. It's very.
They're able to show the action in a good, interesting way, which is good. Whenever a show can pull it off, I really like it. Like that's one of my problems with anime. It often, to me, the fights, even the fights people say are good, just don't hit correct for me. Like there's a lot, like too much talking or something, and the action's constantly being interrupted, and it's.
I mean, you're right, but it sounds like you only watched Dragon Ball Z, Marcus. I'm so sorry.
No, I watched. This applies also to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, where the fight scenes to me, it's heralded as like one of the best like shows for fight scenes in particular, and to me it was still not as good as another show that I think is incredible, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like the fight scenes in that show, that is a real fight like stuff to me. Where like I don't know.
You are correct about Fullmetal Alchemist, but also it makes contextual sense because doing alchemy in the show is inherently not really combat oriented, and they like have to do so many weird things in order to make it work.
Like the story, like the world building is really good, but again, the fluidity of the fight scenes to me is just lacking.
I was just watching the very ending of the B scene again, the B plot where he's like the slug's face, and I was just like, oh god, they murdered him. What did they do?
So sad.
And he opens his mouth. He's asking for death. You know.
Oh, I do love. Yeah, when he looks at the king with the sad face. It's so funny. It's a really good comedic moment. It's cut so well. But like immediately after that, Luce comes back to Ada and is like, "Wow, you were right. Being resourceful is a good way to learn things." And then Willow and Augustus come up and they're like, "Hey, everything is great, Aunt. Willow, she's getting switched to the plant track, which is where she should have always been, because she's very good at that."
She wasn't a computer programmer, after all. She was actually an engineer. I can't believe this.
Is that not harder?
It's a different type of intelligence.
Okay.
It's a different thing. You know, it's you could be smart in different ways.
For sure.
It's like, yeah. Like that's what the point they were trying to make is that it's like if you're not being put into a track that's specifically attuned to you, then that's how it is. I think it's ironic that Luce tried to go back to regular schooling, considering that Luce, you know, classically that did not work for her at all, which is just kind of funny. And the reality is that she does kind of sort of belong with Ada, I think, a little bit, you know, in some aspects. And it's just like, I'm glad that's sort of where it ended up resolution-wise, just a tiny bit. It's like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, Luce accepts Ada's unorthodox teaching methods that's pretty great. That's how I should learn. And Ada is thrilled that Luce got herself banned from school. He's like, yes, your first wanted poster. You're coming up in the world.
Yeah. Once again, it was a banned poster, which I think is funnier. It's like not like they're trying to capture. It's just that they just keep them out of here. Like just get them away. We don't want them around.
You are not allowed to be here anymore. It's good, and like that's it. That's the episode. It's another good one. So far, I haven't really been disappointed. There's been a couple of like scenes maybe that I haven't been into across these episodes, but it's a solid. It's good, solid show.
Yeah,
I enjoy it a lot. I'm kind of glad that we are kind of watching it once per week, or else I would just sit here and binge it. Genuinely, I would.
That's kind of what I did. Well, actually, the way I watched it was really bizarre. Where like, I kind of did this for the first season, maybe the first season and a half, where I would watch maybe a couple of episodes and then take like a 3-month break and watch a couple more. But then around the second half of season 2, I was like, I have to watch all of this right now. So that's what I did. So yeah, excited for that. And it is interesting to watch it the way, you know, the true believers and the early adapters had to watch it, you know, weekly.
Until we get to season 2, where we just get to skip however long they had to wait for a second season.
That's true.
In time.
We'll just roll right into it, which will be great.
Mm-hmm. You know, I appreciate also the fact that they're like, I mean, I appreciate, but also at this point, it's like, it would have been so easy for the show to just be like, ah, yes, this is the magic episode where Luce learns a little magic. And they didn't cash in on that, which is interesting.
Yeah, she didn't learn anything.
I kind of
No.
feel like she will never learn magic.
I'm sort of I was going to say that I'm starting to wonder if that's the path they are going down, where it's like it's episode 3 in a show about literally becoming a witch, and she has not learned a single thing related to spells. It's all just been, my teacher's kind of avoiding me.
It's been like fundamentals, I guess. Like, she learned you have to be resourceful here, which I suppose is... I mean, maybe it's like a Mr. Miyagi situation, right? Where, like, Mr. Miyagi doesn't teach the Karate Kid to do Kung Fu. He teaches him to wash a car, and that's how he learns Kung Fu. It might be the same thing here.
Yeah.
Or it might go down the path of Luce being, like, the fighter type.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen her with a sword.
Luce just... Once again, Luce being the anti-magic, clearly... still on the table. Obviously.
We'll have to wait and see.
Wow.
Next episode is called The Intruder.
Okay.
I
so
don't remember this episode at all. I have no idea what happens.
It's gotta be something... has to be entirely localized within the Owl House. It's the only thing that makes sense. They're gonna have a bottle episode in an animated TV show.
Crazy concept.
This is where they're going to be like, we don't want to hire out new voice actors, and we're gonna just go and put everybody in one little house and see what happens.
Yeah, I can't even. I don't remember this episode whatsoever. So,
Fun.
What do you think it's gonna be about?
I don't know if I really agree with the whole staying inside the house.
You think they're not gonna like?
I feel like they're gonna break into somewhere, but
yeah,
they're breaking into a lot of places, like all the time. So
that is true. 2 out of the 3 episodes have been about break-ins. That is true. I don't know. I guess the name The Intruder it sounds like it's a title. If the title is just for Luce, then that would be or if it's just like for like King or like Ada, then that would be funny. But I don't know. It's probably, I imagine it's going to be some I don't know. The nature of the episode name makes me think immediately it's going to be contained all within the Owl House, and they're going to be like, "Oh, gas, we can't get out. Oh no," or something. I don't know. I don't know why they would be able to get out, though, actually.
You know what an intruder is?
An intruder?
Yeah. Like,
someone who
are they intruding in their own house?
No,
is that what you're saying?
No. I'm that if it was the other 3, I was implying it would be somewhere else. Like you were implying that they were breaking into somewhere. I just think it'd be funny if they called the episode The Intruder, and then it was actually just about one of the 3 breaking in somewhere. Like, that would be funny to me. But in the context that I still think it's just going to be somebody else breaking into their house, and the intruder is in reference to not one of the 3.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense than what I thought you were saying.
No, that's not what I was just saying in the context of where you were implying that the intruder was one of them and they were breaking in somewhere. It would be funny if they called the title The Intruder, like, because it would just, I imagine that would mean that this episode, given that the 2 out of the 3 were about break-ins, this one must have had to have been really about break-ins. Like, it like literally opens up with Ocean's 11 music level. Like, that's what I was expecting, if that's the case.
Oh, that will be a fun episode.
Yeah, they have like the camera cuts with like the split screens, you know? Like, you know, however Ocean's 11 opens.
I've never seen it.
They do like a thing where they like split the screen and they like cut it sideways and they cut it again more, and it's like showing multiple perspectives and it's really noisy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen that style. Okay.
You've seen that style. Did you happen to watch it in an episode of Game Changer on College Humor, Marcus?
I've never heard of that in my life.
Then you're absolutely... That would have been really funny if you did, because that would have been a deep cut, but...
Well, maybe someone else will know what that means.
Ryan will. But nobody.
Yeah, if there's anything else you
Yeah.
guys wanted to talk about, we can, but I mean, we got through it.
Yeah, that's it. Any episode.
I don't got anything else.
I look forward to next week.
Hell yeah. Well, I guess until then, goodbye everyone. Join us next week for the Owl Hour in the Owl Pod.
Owl out.
Owl out. Owl out. Hoot hoot.